Welcome. I am Juan Moreno Góngora. I'm the chair of the OLA ERG for Lidos, and I want to welcome Ilya Espino de Marotta, Deputy Administrator of the Panama Canal, uh, to our celebration of the International Women's Day. I'm glad to count with the support of all the ERGs for Lidos and also the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers chapters, Houston Community College, Texas A&M University, the Texas Bay Area Professional, and the whole Region 5 chapter. We are very glad and honored to have Ilya to talk to us about her career and her experience as a professional that happened to be a woman who have grown from her earlier years to now become the deputy administrator of the Panama Canal. Uh, the Panama Canal, we're going to talk a little bit about the expansion. We're going to introduce to you Ilya, and then a one-on-one with Ilya, moderated by our vice chair of OLA and chef member, Angel Montalvo. And then at the end, we'll have a question for you that you can ask Ilya. Where is Panama? Panama is in Central America between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, right between Costa Rica and Colombia. It's one of the most important places for all trade, sea trade. You look at the Panama Canal, it is they have the Pacific logs where we'll find the Miraflores and the Pedro Miguel logs. Those are the old logs, and then the new logs, the Cocoli logs, and then on the Atlantic logs, you have the Gatun logs and the Agua Clara logs. By the numbers, the Panama Canal handles about 6% of all the global seaborne trade and 12% of American international seaborne trade. It close the 70% of the Panama Canal traffic either originates or is bound to the United States. And you can see on the two pictures there, the old Gatun logs with the two lines, and then the new logs on the Agua Clara logs. The old logs, that's 50 miles between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. They accommodate what they call Panamax vessels. Just to give you an example, those Panamax vessels have a maximum load container of about 5,000 containers. As you know, the Panama Canal was opened in 1914. With the expansion, now the canal can handle accommodate the new Panamax vessel that can transport up to 12,000 containers. And if you live in the East Coast, pretty much from Houston to Boston, if you live near a major port, you will notice all the changes on the major ports across the East Coast just to accommodate this new influx of new Panamax vessels on the East Coast. About Ilya. Ilya has been spotlighted in many magazines and receiving many awards, for example, from the United Nations or Forbes. She was listed as one of the 50 most powerful women in Central America. The Red Shoe movement had her as a Hall of Famer, and also many other organizations have been inviting her to speak about the canal and also as her job as a professional. She also is inspiration to many women in the Panama Canal Authority who have opened new areas to work with the Panama Canal, from the administration all the way to engineering and the port shipyard. But let's listen to Ilya's on her own words.
I started working in the Panama Canal in 1985. I graduated as a marine engineer in Texas A&M, and I started working in the Panama Canal shipyard. as a technical engineer. The highlight of my career has been leading the Panama Canal expansion program. It was an amazing engineering project, and it was a great project because just like when I started in the shipyard, I really liked that I would design something in the office, see how it was being built in the shops, and then I could see one of the vessels transiting with designs that I had made. With the Panama Canal expansion program, it was the same. I started with the project in 2002. I saw how all the studies were done, the planning was done, and then execution, and now we're looking at it functioning. I never thought I would be influencing anybody. So it's really nice that because of the expansion program, there was such visibility on a woman doing this job that it's inspiring a lot of women, not only in the maritime industry, but in any industry. I think the legacy is that women can do whatever they want to do, that there are opportunities. It might not be super easy, but with a group that can support you, with help from other people, you can achieve whatever you want. I think it's very important for women to be more involved in the maritime industry. A more balanced workforce in the maritime business would be great for the world. My name is Ilya Espino de Marotta, and I am the Vice President for Transit Business of the Panama Canal.
And with that, we, glad to celebrate the International Women's Day and honor now to introduce to you Ilya Espino de Marotta and Angel Montalvo, who will have a conversation about her career. Angel and Ilya. Angel?
I don't see Ilya though.
I'm here.
Yeah,
okay.
I see you.
Okay. Okay. So Ilya, once again, thank you for joining us. This is a fabulous opportunity. To start, I wanted to ask you how did you get interested in marine engineering? Was that something like perhaps your father did or someone in the family? I know I'm an engineer because my father was an engineer. How did you get into that field?
Actually, it was really by chance, by coincidence. I loved the sea, and I was a fan of Jacques Cousteau. I started scuba diving when I was 16, and I got a scholarship, Fulbright scholarship, to study marine biology. And after a year and a half in the career, I came to Panama to see, future job opportunities, and it wasn't very promising because I would have to work like on a shrimp farm, and I was looking for a Jacques Cousteau lifestyle. So. Then I said, well, I guess I got to switch careers. So I went into oceanography. And after one semester, I came to Panama and I interviewed with an oceanographer in Panama, Dr. Arellano Lennox. And he told me, there's not very many opportunities. You'll have to be like a professor at the university. So I said, well, now what do I do? So I said, well, I'm pretty good at math and physics. So why not engineering? So marine engineering, it's a mechanical engineer of ships, of boats. So I said, I will be by the ocean one way or another. So I ended up studying marine engineering just because of that reason. And my first job was in the shipyard, and I fell in love with it. It was like fantastic. So actually, my parents are in the medical field. My father is a pathologist, and my mom is a speech therapist. So no family oriented.
Nothing there. Okay. So I understand. So you finished your marine engineering degree, and then you go directly to work for the Panama Canal?
Yes, I graduated in May '85 and came to Panama, and I started in the Panama Canal as an engineering technician, temporary employee, and I lived in the Pacific side and I worked in the Atlantic because the shipyard that we have is in the Atlantic side. So I commuted for 4.5 years, which really wasn't too bad. I guess you get used to it after a while, and then I started moving around within the agency.
Okay, so now can you give us kind of a view? So we saw the video of everything that goes, kind of the physical changes that happen to accommodate the new canal. But can you sensitize us as to the various aspects that you're managing in that type of a project? There are vendors and designers, and can you give us kind of a perspective so we get a better picture of all that it?
The project, it was a $5.2 billion project that it was scheduled to be done in 7.5 years. It got delayed to 9 years. You got a year and a half delay. And we split it in three, I would say three main areas. Actually, three main areas, but it's really four. We had to deepen and widen the existing navigational channel. So that was done between dredging works and dry excavation. We also had to create a brand new access channel. So that was one group of people working on dry excavation / dredging. We had another group of people working in the contract for the locks construction, which was the largest project, and it was one lock in the Atlantic and one in the Pacific. So we had a team just focusing on that project. And then we had a smaller team working in, because we actually raised the operational lake level to be able to store more water and give a bigger draft to ships. So there was a team working with a lot of very small projects, just modifying structures that could be impacted by operating the lake at a higher level. And then we had another branch that it was like the independent branch, which is the area where I started. When I started in the expansion in 2007. I started in 2002 when we analyzed the project. And in 2007, I took the role of project controls and resources. And that area had environmental, safety, budget, project controls, legal, and historical documentation. So those were the main areas. And we had a combination of design bid build contracts and design build contracts, depending on how much we wanted to take a risk or we had experience in certain areas. We had over 80 different nationalities working in the project. There were 41,000 jobs generated during the 9 years of work. 90% of the workforce was Panamanian by law. We were able to achieve those numbers to be available for the contractors. Most of the contractors were international, but they hired local labor force. So that's, and we created within the Panama Canal, we created the engineering division, which is the one I started leading in 2012, just dedicated to the expansion program and some smaller construction projects. So we had our own environmental, even though the rest of the corporate Panama Canal had environmental and had safety, but because we wanted the decision making to be fast in such a big project and not a lot of red tape, we had one head reporting directly to the administrator and then to the board of directors, so decisions could be made in an expedited fashion.
Okay, that is super impressive. Okay, so in terms, there was a study done for the need of the expansion of the canal. Was this something that, Panama got to that point that said, we can see what is happening globally, and now this is the time for us to go and do this expansion?
Yes, the canal was under U.S. government until December noon 1999. So in 97, we started analyzing projects. It was more looking at water projects for the future because we do see a climate change. And, the canal operates on fresh water. It's a gravity-fed canal. There's no pumping of water, and it works with fresh water from the artificial lakes that were created. So we started studying water and also what was the trend and vessel sizes. And we did a study from 2002, which is when I started getting involved, from 2002 until 2006 really. We analyzed the whole project and we came with a master plan for the 25 years of the canal looking forward. And we did over 120 studies, $40 million investment to define the project we wanted to build. We had to go to a national referendum. When the canal was transferred from the U.S. to Panama, there was created a law that created the institution, the Panama Canal Authority, which is autonomous. It's a government entity, but it's autonomous. We even have a different budget cycle, and Congress doesn't approve our budget, the board of directors. I mean, they do approve it, but they cannot modify it. Mm-hmm. So the law said that if Panama ever wanted to invest in expanding the canal, it had to go to a national referendum. So we had to have a very good in-depth study, and we had to go all over the country explaining the project so that people could vote yes or no to the project, because it was a big investment for a small country. So from 2002 until 2006, I was involved in the development of the whole project. And then when the referendum came positive in 2006, 2007, we started execution.
So in that study, you also contacted, because it is the traffic of all kinds of vessels from all countries. So you were also in touch with different countries kind of to, get their feeling. Where are you going? What are your next goals? And how that feeds into your purpose of expanding.
Absolutely. We had memos of understanding with about 7 U.S. ports on the East Coast. Our number 1 user is the USA. Our number 2 user is China. Our number 3rd user is Japan. And then we go Korea, Chile. So we were analyzing the industry trend on the size of vessel to define what was the size of locks we wanted to build, the water requirements to operate these additional locks, and the market. So we ended up with a locks that we thought could put vessels that would carry up to 12,000 containers, but we have put vessels that have had carry over 15,000 containers. So that's good. It's because we do charge by tonnage. The bigger the vessel, the more we charge. So we didn't envision to build the locks for every single vessel that was out in the world, but the route that was the most used through Panama, or that would be used potentially. And that's why we ended up with what we consider a 12,000 TEU vessel originally, which now experience shows us it can be 15,000. Because, there's 20,000 TEU containers out, but they don't use this route because the markets that they serve and the draft of the ports that they go. So that was one of the reasons we also kept in close contact with the ports in the East U.S. coast, because that was our main destination. And not all of the ports could receive vessels that would carry 50-foot draft. So some of the U.S. ports actually did some dredging improvements and added new cranes that could reach more for the bigger vessels. And I know New York, they had to raise the Bayonne bridge so the vessels could go under the bridge, the bigger ones that would transit eventually the Panama Canal. So yeah, all those years of studying and construction, we were in close contact with potential customers and our existing customers, so they would deploy bigger vessels through the new locks.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that as technology evolves and, and how global economics evolve, eventually these vessels will continue to grow. Is that something that would then drive another expansion, say, I don't know, 50 years from now or something like that?
It's possible. We couldn't right now today make a new set of locks because of the water restrictions. We wouldn't have enough water to operate an additional set of locks. Okay. Even if we build it on the same size. Now, It's not just the locks, it's the ports that they go to. So it's an economies of scale that impacts the whole industry. Ports, the dredging, the market. Is there enough market? So, but of course we did leave a real estate available for a future expansion. So if we ever needed to build it, the land is being reserved for that. And we are starting, as a matter of fact, we put out a bid for a hydraulic project to ensure enough water for the Panama Canal for the next 50 years. And this is going to be a $2 billion investment that will guarantee the availability of water for future. Once we have that, then we can look at the possibilities of a fourth set of locks. But right now, there's not even enough market. There's not enough demand that would pay for the project.
Right. It's just you give it time and things grow and people want more, and then that drives. But it sounds like a very, to a certain extent, a synchronized effort globally, right?
Yes.
You build it because some people can use it, and those countries have to do whatever they have to do to then account for those new vehicles, and so everything has to be kind of synchronized at some point. Okay, yeah. Very impressive. Okay, so now going into, you started from the bottom up, right, with the smaller task and little by little getting more. What aspects of your professional career provided you with the skills and tools to manage this humongous project? What do you think one needs to get there?
The first thing, the Panama Canal is a company that has 10,000 employees, and is very diverse. I mean, we generate electricity. We have potable water production. We have, of course, shipyards and operations and finance and everything. So one of the things I did is I kind of moved around quite a bit within the organization. From working in the shipyard, I went to work in dredging division. Then I went to work in just pure design in the designs offices. Then I went to work in operations. I went to work in accounting. Meanwhile, I got a master's in engineering economics. Then I went to work for investment projects. And in 2002, when I got a phone call from the deputy administrator and says, hey, would you be interested in looking at this project that we're thinking about doing? I said, of course. So I did move around quite a bit. That gave me a big insight on the operation of the canal in all of its different areas. Each job I did, I was very responsible, very accountable, very committed, never shied away from.
Did you move around, Ilya? Did you move around knowingly, or you know how sometimes you just move around because, oh well, I've done this, I'm gonna move, or did you already had an intention to reach those higher places?
Never.
No, it was just knowledge. It was just.
It was, okay, let's learn something new. Let's do something nice. Some of them were promotions. Let's, look for a job that pays more money. But it was never trying to reach a managerial position. It was not my drive. My drive was like me learning, changing, switching, taking on challenges. Even when I got the phone call, like, would you be interested? We're creating a team of 4 people that would lead the effort. I said, sure. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I said, I'll do it. I'll learn it. Sounds like fun. So I think that gave me a reputation within the organization about, she takes on risks, she makes decisions, she likes new things. And once I started working for the expansion itself, obviously it gave more confidence to my boss at the time to then propose me to the board of directors to lead the project once he got promoted to administrator. So it was just looking for new, different experiences within the organization. Of course, when they offered me the job, my boss said, would you be interested? I said, of course I'm interested. So it was, I think all of my 30 plus years, at the time it wasn't 30, it was 29, 28 years of experience in the canal, what helped me be ratified by the board of directors to lead the expansion program. And then in 2019, I got asked to move to operations, to head operations, which is the biggest vice presidency. It's 7,000 people on the vice. Well, now we're 5,000. We just had a restructuring, which is kind of nice. So I went to lead operations, and right now I'm holding two hats. I'm holding the deputy administrator hat, and I'm still running operations. So it's fun. It's nice. I enjoy it. I enjoy my job. Okay. The hardest part is dealing with the unions, I have to say, which is a brand new experience for me under operations, because when we were in engineering, we were not, there were no unions. And here we have to deal with 6 different unions in operations.
Yeah. Okay. So, and what gave you, when you received that call of, hey, do you want to do this job? You didn't doubt yourself? You thought, nope, I can do this.
Yep.
It's not, I have it. What else could there be? A little bit more knowledge, but it should be kind of the same thing.
I'm willing to learn whatever comes, because it sounds like a lot of fun and very interesting. So I was never afraid of, whenever I put in for a new job, it wasn't like, oh, I know this job, I know what I'm going to do. No, it was like, I will learn it. I will get there. So.
And be excellent at it.
Applying, right.
Right. And then now you mentioned that you did get a master's in economics, engineering economics?
Engineering economics, yes.
So is that something that, a lot of people, I guess maybe a 50-50, some people do think, oh, I'm going to continue my studies. And some people decide, I think that with my bachelor's, I can just proceed. And I guess that, it could happen either way. What would be your, what was your experience and recommendation based on that? Do you think that, did you do that? And obviously you gain knowledge, but do you think that was needed for the job? Getting that extras?
it did help me in my job in accounting. I definitely did use my master's degree when I moved into that area. I think if you're not inclined to get a master's degree, at least some postgraduate work in different areas. I think it's important to expand your horizons. But that, of course, depends on what the person wants to do. If you want to be a scientist that is very focused on something very narrow, because that's how you like to work, then you will still need to get more education on that specific. So I think because the world moves so fast, you always need to be studying new things to maintain yourself up to speed on what's happening around the world. So is it a master? Is it a doctor? Is it just postgraduate work? Is it just some seminars? I just think it's important that you do continue to enrich your knowledge in a formal way, not only by experience, but also by studying.
Yeah, and I remember when I went to school and the engineering degree was in 4 years, but it was a compressed full 4 years of engineering, right? Those other kind of sociology or psychology, there was no real time for any of that because they're trying to prepare you. And I always thought 4 years doesn't seem enough, but there is the aspect of after you go to college, you need to continue because it's like you said, the technology is just moving, and otherwise you're gonna fall behind.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So was there a competition atmosphere for that position?
Which one?
Or when you were offered in 2002 the position to kind of run this was?
No, actually it was, well, I found out later that they had done like a evaluation of potential candidates, but it wasn't like you could apply for a job. It was the
They were kind of selected.
Yes, the management team looked in the agency, they rated the people, and I know because one of the former VPs told me like, oh, you came one of the highest ranked in the evaluation that we did. So then they contacted those people that they thought were the top rated, and I guess if we said yes, we were in, and if we said no, they would go and look for the next person.
Okay, and so you and after the selection, you did you receive any feedback from those who perhaps were not, that were not selected?
No.
No, nothing yet. Okay, so what do you think as a woman you bring into this job that perhaps is not same for a man leading this job?
Well, I think I was a little bit more inclined to have an understanding on the other side's position. I think women are very good at looking at things from both aspects. And I was, let's say, less controversial or more. Sometimes they will call me like, oh, Ilya's too weak or too nice. But the project got built, we did a great job. So you don't need to be confrontational and to achieve things. You can achieve things, they say, as a matter of fact, that sometimes you can get more with niceness than with meanness. And I just read a book not too long ago that is well done. It's how they trail killer whales in SeaWorld. And yes, that's basically the theory. When you are nicer, you can probably get more than when you're not. So I think women they're more like, I want to win and I want you to lose. I think we're more win-win. Let's see how we both gain from this. I think that's a characteristic that probably helped me in the project. I think women tend to be a little bit more empathic also with personal issues on the employees, on the workers, than men. They're more work-driven, we're more understanding and results-driven. So yes, I think it's good to have the combination. Like I tell everybody, it's like, it's not that one is better than the other one. It's that if we have a balance between men and women, because we probably put more care or emphasis in certain aspects, it's good because then the decision making is more balanced because you see different points of view on a situation. So I think those are the things that help me in doing a good job when I was appointed to lead the expansion.
Okay. And in Latin America, there tends to be kind of a focus on on men, right? And men leading efforts, and that starts from the time that that you have babies. I know that my parents, there is always something more toward you're the boy. If anything happens, you have to run the house and protect your family and stuff like that. Um, Obviously, in this case, that wasn't the case. Um, you work with a ton of women and men. When they see you, the man, in this position, and perhaps that was more something that could be detected at the beginning of the project. Did you receive any feedback or kind of attitudes from that male population that perhaps would have thought, oh, we thought a man was going to run this project?
I didn't within the Panama Canal workforce because I've been working the canal for so many years that everybody knew who I was.
Okay.
And I think that translated into whatever the contractors that came on board, they probably heard about me or knew about me or from the actual workforce. So I never really got any bad vibes or bad feedback or threatened. Actually, there was only one guy.
Of the 41,000.
Yeah, so it was very relevant. It wasn't very noticeable. But before I got the job, I did get a comment from a Belgium engineer who, very nice. He liked me. We got along great. But I saw the thinking that was probably in more people's minds because he was asking me one day, so Ilya, now that your boss is going to get promoted to administrator of the canal, he goes, would you like to run the project? I said, of course. And he goes, well, but you're a woman. I said, so what does that has to do with anything? He goes, it's a construction project. I said, yes, I think I can handle it. He goes, well, you're married. I said, well, my husband really supports me. And he goes, you have 3 kids. I said, yeah, but they're growing up and, they know that we all have responsibilities and I think will manage good. He goes, well, you're going to have to do a lot of lobbying. So that showed me something I hadn't seen. And I had this other engineer that also told me, like, when you get to this level, it's not only about your capabilities and your abilities and your professional ability. It's a little bit political too. So the lobbying thing, it was a reality. But my boss, who's known me for many years, he goes, you don't have to do any lobbying. I'll do the lobbying for you. So it was great. But
fantastic.
But I have never thought about it that way because I always moved up because of my merits and my work.
Right. It's a different perspective from what we view it. We're going, we say, oh, I want to be there. And so you continue. But other people have these perspectives and we are kind of oblivious to it until someone tells us in our face,
exactly,
have you considered this? And you're like, what? You do it, I can do it. That's very interesting. Okay, so you were talking about obstacles or challenges. I wanted to find out what were the biggest either obstacle or challenges about running this expansion. In one case, now you're saying you're doing unions, which I understand is a different beast on its own. But during the project, because there's so much that is going on between subcontracts and vendors and personnel and laws, and what of all that you think was most, of a hassle to tackle?
I think people, absolutely people. The technical stuff you can resolve. The contract is the contract. And I think dealing with people was the most complicated thing. And I'll tell you why. We were very structured very well. We did everything according to PMI. Everything was very structured. But you still have a lot of bright, smart people that want to do things their own way. In a project like this, nobody can go their own way. It has to be structured because there's reporting to do, because everything. So
the dependencies and so forth.
Yeah, so I had to make sure that everybody would follow what was supposed to be followed. If you want to do something in addition to because it makes you happy and measure something else differently, you can. But I think people and have consensus. So I think I had a motto that was never a dull moment. There was always something to resolve. Always. It was mainly people issues. But the beauty is the project was progressing. So you cannot, when you see the project moving ahead, even with all the headaches you have every day, it's like no big deal. You know, it's moving, it's going. And when you have a very good team working with you, it makes your life a lot easier. And I told my team, I says, I'm here to make your life easy and resolve your problems. So whenever you come into a glitch, raise your hand, come to me. You know, don't try to, oh, I don't want the boss to know. No, I'm here for you to help you. So, but I will have to say, dealing with 80 nationalities was also a little bit complicated, you know, subcontractors from different countries, and not everybody has the same susceptibility to how you talk to me. And in some countries, some things might be normal, and in Panama, they were not. So it was a little bit of that.
That translation. Yeah. I tend to think that, you know, people, or what I have learned in my career is that every person is like a little world on their own, right? And because you, in the way that you're raised, your culture, your language, your, you know, your habits and all that type of stuff, and bringing that all to kind of within the lines, it is a big challenge. So,
Yes.
okay. Now tell us about your pink helmet and your pink vest.
Okay, that was very, very funny. I found out a while after I had been appointed that I was a little bit like on probation, even though I wasn't told that. I've learned, and I asked my boss, and he goes, well, sort of, yes, you know. And he actually said that when he proposed my name at the board level, there were questions like, why not these other men? Why her?
Mm-hmm.
So he said it was a little bit awkward for me to have to point out maybe the lackings of the other candidates that they wanted me to look at, and not focus only on the good of you. So after that, I told my husband, I said, I need to make a statement, you know, that I'm a girl and I can do this job. So I purchased a pink hard hat.
Yeah.
And I saw that they also had vests. I said, well, let's get the vest too. Why not? So that was the motive. It was more of an internal, you know, because it was internal, the issue that I'm a girl and I can do this job. So that was the whole purpose. It was to make a statement. The hat, I guess, became pretty popular beyond the Panama Canal.
Uh-huh.
But that was it. It was just to make that statement that I'm a girl and I can do this job.
Okay. And do the other female workers now have kind of follow that?
No, actually, no. It's
okay.
It's like my trademark, I guess. Even though there was a point when we did the flooding of the Pacific locks, I actually purchased 7 hard hats, pink ones, and I gave them to 7 lady engineers, and I had them open the valves to let the water in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
so
cool.
I don't know if they use them, but they have them.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay, so now that you're in this position, or have been in this position, are you also supporting initiatives or programs to demonstrate that girls can grow to be women in engineering or science, in the STEM? You know, do you have a role that in that field in Panama?
I do as an ad hoc. For example, I belong to 2 associations. It's a woman, the Asociación de Directoras Corporativas, which is to promote women in boards of directors in Panama. So it's more leadership role. I'm also a member of International Women's Forum, also for leadership. But I do give talks wherever they invite me, high schools, graduating classes, math forums, science forums. I was portrayed in a book that is called Those Who Inspire. And at the end of the writing that they do about you, basically they put, would you be a mentor and would you give presentations? And I volunteer for both. So I get quite a few invitations to talk to young organizations, student organizations. So I do take the time, I make the effort to focus on improving girls to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. Yes.
Okay. And I understand that in Panama, you know, for example, we just went through elections and we have the first vice president that is a female. And here in this nation, that was a, you know, it was a super win, to have a woman in that position. But I understand that in Panama, there are laws that facilitate helping women to move, into, well, I don't know if it's into jobs or if it's into higher level positions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that is quite recent. I think it was in 2000. It's about 3 years ago. They created a law for board directors in regulated companies that 30% of the board directors should be female, and you're supposed to increase the quotas 10% each year for the first 3 years. So yes, that's a very recent law.
Okay, so before that, there was no such thing. But do you think before that law, I know that you guys in Panama, there were women presidents.
Yes.
And so before that law, things were facilitated for women to continue growing, or do you think that law has made a drastic change in helping women get to those positions?
I think it's more associations like the ones I mentioned that I belong to than the government itself. Besides this law that is very recent, I mean, we do have like maternity leave, which that helps. They gave recently also paternity leave for dads when the spouse has babies, so that helps in the home front. But I think it's more ad hoc associations and NGOs that promote the women
to continue moving forward
than having laws or anything like that. Yes, besides that specific one that I mentioned.
Okay. So what do you think is the impact of resilience, a trait that is abundant among Latin American people, and particularly women and families?
Well, I think it's a key, I don't want to call it an ability, but it's a key trait to have, because I got to where I got not, I don't want to say it was a difficult road, but it wasn't an easy road either. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of persistence. You can't just give up. I applied maybe to 50 jobs and I got 10 out of those 50. So you have to be resilient to see when there's some things that don't go well. For example, like I said, in the expansion program, never a dull moment. There was one day, I have to say, there was one day when I got really down and I actually grabbed my purse at 3:00 in the afternoon, came home and cried on my bed. It's when the contractor stopped the works. He was pressuring us to give him $1 billion because he thought it was money he was entitled to because his project was costing more. And, the contract was very specific. If you have a claim, you present the claim. And he just, to pressure the canal, and I was like, oh my God, what now? That was totally unexpected. Like I said, before every problem that we were resolving, the project was moving. So this is it. The deserted, looked like a ghost town from the west. Both locks, and they stopped for 2 weeks. So there was one day in the afternoon, the first day, when I got very upset. But the next day, you gotta be resilient, just go back at it. And after 2 weeks, we got the contractor working, and now the project's been operation for 4 years. So resilience, very, very important. We also had, when we were doing the first test of one of the locks seals, we had some cracks in the concrete. Of course, the media said that the locks are badly built, they're gonna fall down, everything is a catastrophe. But, you got to be resilient. And then, no, this is a design error, it will be fixed. So get the facts. So yes, resilience is very important to move forward in life, in everything, not just your job, but life.
In life, yeah. You get beat up, but like you say, go and cry it. I would do the same. Get it out of the system and then continue.
That's right.
So what about the balance with family life in such a demanding, which, any job can be very demanding. Any job can go through those moments where, you have to put super extra hours for God knows how long. And there are impacts to family, whether the husband can help in that, depending on the age of the children, the impacts can be different. what can you advise women in these particular scenarios to better handle?
Absolutely have, if you're married, a spouse that supports you. My husband has been my right and my left hand. He never shied away of uh, pediatric visits, to the doctor, or having to go to a school teacher meeting when I was busy. So we share the workload pretty much with the kids. I hate grocery shopping, so he would do grocery shopping whenever I didn't get it online, which is great. You gotta also take advantage of like technology nowadays. I've been ordering groceries online for the last 20 years because I just don't like grocery shopping. Now that my husband is retired, well, he likes to go to the store, so now he goes to the store and does it. So you have to find the little ways and what works best for you. For me, I need to work out every day. So I have a sacred half an hour, at least 40 minutes that I work out either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. We made it a point when the kids were growing up, no matter how busy we were, dinner was sacred. So we had dinner Monday through Friday with the kids because that day you share the whole day. And it's not just eat and run, it's eat, enjoy, share. We would make weekends, go to the beach on the weekends, so we would have a family weekend. So you need to find that balance. And for example, for me, what worked when I was in my later, busier years, I would bring work home. Because for me, after dinner, kids would go do their own thing. My husband would watch the news, whatever, and I could read my emails, read documents. Some people say I never take work home, but then they'll stay in the office until 7 o'clock at night. So
Right.
it's what works better for you. For me, I read my Bible in the morning, I work out in the morning, I do my work, and then after dinner, if there's something pending, I don't mind turning my laptop or reading a document that I have to read. So you need to make it work how it best fits your family. And my kids, they have to understand mom has responsibilities, so they have to be responsible. I stopped doing homework with my kids when they were in third grade. After that, it's your responsibility to do your homeworks, not mine. So you have to educate them, because I see a lot of parents are struggling. Look, I got to do homework with my kids, and they're like in high school. What's that? So that also helps, because you don't need that burden or that pressure. So I think it's very important that you structure things how best work for you and your family. But obviously there's some, I have to tell you, there's maybe some of the plays that I would have liked to go see my daughter had, because she's the youngest. So I did dedicate more time to my older boys than to my younger daughter. But there's a point when then you go to the most important ones to her. And yeah, there might be a little bit of a guilt feeling like, well, I spare more time with the boys. Well, I had a less demanding job at the time. So it will happen. But that's when you have your friends, your parents, your mom, your spouse, that they'll cover for you when you can't.
Right. And I think the message is that sometimes when we get in these routines, we kind of react to the situation where we can, you can read into your work and know that for the next month, things are going to be different, or for the next year or 2 years. And so there has to be a realistic plan that you sit down with your spouse and your children and say, I think this is how everyone provides their input. And, and so it is a realistic plan that works for everyone and nurtures everyone, if you will. So, but it is a big challenge. And I think it's, is the compromising, is having those discussions, is figuring out what that plan really needs to be. So what would you say is the worst thing a woman can do in her career?
Don't take the opportunities that are presented to her.
Okay.
I think it's very important that you don't have a fear that I can't do something if it's something that you want. So don't shy away of the opportunities, because they don't always present themselves more than once. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Learn from your mistakes and get help. Nobody reaches the top by themselves. It's with the support of other people. So also don't be afraid or shy of asking for help. That doesn't make you a lesser person, professional, or whatever. I think that's very important. So you need to have confidence in yourself, and also do the things that you really want to do. Don't bend to peer pressure. If you're interested and you want to do it, go for it. If you're not, then you don't. So I think you need to be very satisfied with your life and what you accomplish and what you want to do that makes you happy, and that's key.
Yeah, because sometimes we take a job and it pays the bills, but it might not be as satisfying, and that eventually plays, into the quality of your life and how you see life and how you approach life.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so I am complete with my questions, and now we want to open the floor for some of the people that are listening to provide their questions. And
just raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
there have to be questions. If not, I have one more.
Okay.
The one question you mentioned, you have two boys and a girl, and maybe for the boys, again, it is more like, okay, I know what mom does and maybe I'll follow on her steps. Girls, might see it differently. Do you see a difference how they see your position and whether they would follow on your steps?
Well,
Or,
none of them follow my steps.
oh, there you go. There's some families that have just like you, that they were doctors and you went totally opposite direction.
Yeah, no, my oldest son, he's 29. He's a chemist. My middle son went for philosophy, and my daughter studied food science. So all of them went very away from engineering. Nobody liked my job. They were not math kids at all.
At all. Look at that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is, and what do you think they have learned from seeing you? I mean, are they as resilient? Are they, are they the type of kid that says, oh, I'm going to try it and I know I will be successful? What do you see?
Yeah, my oldest son, he's very dedicated, very committed, he actually got a degree in psychology. He worked for 2 years. He said, Mom, I hate it. I always wanted to study chemistry, but I was afraid that was going to be too hard. I said, well, you're not engaged, you have no kids, so just do
Go
it.
for it.
So
Yeah,
he went for it, and now he's working as a chemist.
there you go.
My middle child is very committed, responsible, but he's not sure what he wants to do. So he's been trying different things. My daughter is a go-getter. She's very firm. She's very risk taker. She's 24. She got a promotion recently. So they're all different, but they all have the main basic values, which is what's the most important, which is the work ethics, the be truthful, be transparent, be committed, which is good, and that's what I expect from them. That, to me, that's a win. If they're ethical
Right.
people and transparent people and committed and responsible and accountable, they will succeed.
All right.
Yes, that is,
We have
and I
a
think it
Martha.
also it
Yeah.
also reflects in the plan that you put for your family, that plan did work on how you balance that, so it paid off.
Yep.
All
Okay,
right. We
go
have
to the
Martha
question.
Sanchez with a question for Ilya.
I see two hands.
Martha.
Can you hear me okay?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. This is
Yeah, my name
Martha.
is Kelly. I work in the business of X-ray screening equipment for airports and whatnot. Before that, I was in the military, and I kind of use that as my pathway to explore different job opportunities. What was I interested in? And I know that you did a lot of that while you were in college, changing majors to figure out where, based on opportunities you saw where you would fit. Since I've had to change jobs throughout my career, I see that you pretty much, once you found a home, you worked your way up all the way to where you're at now. Uh, is that because you felt your company kept offering you challenges and opportunities? Is that one of the reasons you stayed? Or did you ever consider looking at other places, or are you just happy here?
No, I never considered, because there was always a move ahead for me, whether it was a lateral move with the same salary but in a different new experience, or there was a promotion opportunity. So I never had a desire to go to a different company until very recently. Once I finished the expansion program, And once I worked in operations, I said, well, maybe it's time for me to go to a different world. And I actually went for a few interviews in different companies. But then I got offered the job as deputy administrator, and that was a promotion, and it was a big milestone. Never has been a female being a deputy administrator of the Panama Canal, so it was like, wow, this is great. So why would I leave? So I stayed. But it's the only time in my career that I actually thought, like, well, the expansion program, that's a once in a lifetime. You don't build a project that size twice. I've been in operations for 2 years. I love it, but it's a time to look for something different. And then I got this job offer. So that was the reason. I always had a look forward position within the agency.
Well, thank you for answering that. You seem like an incredible talent, and I'm actually trying to increase the diversity in my workforce. It's all male, but it doesn't have to be. I have trouble attracting females to my position where it's a 100% travel role, technical field, and I'm trying to see, more like how can I advertise the job better to get this kind of talent to work with my team. So I appreciate your insight and your motivations. I've always seen that the opportunity was before you was a good reason to stay. I'm gonna take that with me. Thank you.
Something very interesting that within the canal 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we got the seal of equality, gender equality seal, and we had to do an audit on, are we attracting the female talent? Because we're only 10% of the workforce is female. We're 10,000, well, we're 9,700 employees. So that's 970 something women, of which only 187 are in maritime fields or non-traditional male fields. So we realized that, and I'll give you a very simple example, drivers. We have drivers because you need to drive the crews, for the tugboats, for the line handlers, all that. We've never had a female driver, but all women drive, and there's even Uber female drivers. Our advertisement was always like the picture of a man. So now we are taking pictures. So we had our first female driver, in 100 and something years of the canal, which is great. And shift work, nurses work shift work, doctors work shift work. So the fact that it's a shift work, it's should not be exclusive for females. So I think how you advertise the position, it's key. And if the woman sees another woman doing that role, then it's like, oh, I can do that. So we're doing that now. Like we have security guard that are females, a lot of positions that were traditionally occupied by men, and women were like, oh, I can apply for that job. Sure, why not? And the Panama Canal is an equal opportunity employer, but we weren't advertising it to attract the female workforce.
Thank you very much for the insight. Thank you.
Marta, you have a question?
Yes. I heard you mention that one of the challenging parts of your work was working with people. And I'm wondering if you have suggestions from your experience of working with what are called difficult people.
I like to have facts. That has helped me a lot. First of all, I was a very reserved person. I wasn't a very outgoing. And one thing I've learned is that you need to care about the people's personal life. Because to me, it was like, I don't want to be a busybody. I don't want to get involved in people's life. But that shows that you care. So I made it a point to get concerned if somebody has a problem in their house. And now that I'm focusing, I can read people's, and I can see when somebody who's like always bubbly and then it's not, and then I go, something wrong, what's the matter? So I became more empathic. I became more people oriented. And with the difficult people, I make sure I always have facts, because when you have facts, it's hard for them to be unreasonable. So those are two things that I kind of focus on. The fact of being more empathic and being more concerned with their personal lives, because that takes a shield down. It's not just like, oh, the boss, it's like, I'm here to help you. You spend 8 hours a day, at least in my office. You were working in the same company. I should care a little bit more about what happens at home. And the other thing is factual. I like to keep my conversations factual when it's work related and somebody's looking 180 degrees from me. I'm very open also to listen to everybody's opinion, and sometimes that upsets some people because like, no, I already made a decision, but it doesn't hurt to hear everybody. So let's hear everybody. And I also like, I don't like I talk to you now and then I talk to you later. No. Let's have a meeting, the three of us, and that helps a lot. So basically, that's what I've done.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Final question, Cesar. Cesar, could you unmute yourself?
Oh, am I on?
Yes.
Okay. How many quote unquote difficult people have you had to deal with compared with like studying in school compared to like working out in the field? You know, like does it seem to be that much of a difference, or is there like a large discrepancy in the workplace compared to an educational setting? And do you see it coming from the other side as well?
Well,
Have you had to deal with?
Say that again.
Do you see that you have to deal with more difficult people when you were like learning in school compared to when you're in the actual workplace out in the field doing your career, you know? And is it a large difference or is it something that's offhanded? And my second follow-up question is, did you ever see difficult people from the other side of that spectrum coming out like that? Like, did they make it hard for you to work, or did they try to compete with you as well?
Well, I have to say that college was a breeze. You don't see difficult people in college. Maybe difficult professors once in a blue moon. But no, definitely the workforce, it's a more complicated environment. Absolutely. And it depends. The Panama Canal, I mean, we have 9,700 people and you have all kinds of skills. You know, you have the laborer, you have the engineer, you have the lawyer, you have the finance, you have the line handler, you have the locomotive operator. So it's, and you need to learn how to communicate with all levels. It's very important that you have that skill. And something that we learned when we had to go explain the expansion program to the country. I mean, I had to go to little tiny towns up in the mountain, people that, you know, probably didn't even have a television, but they needed to go vote. So it brought me to go from an engineering world to a standard project that a person could understand what it meant to be able to vote. So I think you need to have the ability to present and to communicate at different levels with different people. You cannot talk the same way to everybody because not everybody's going to grasp the concept the same way.
I agree with that, but what I mean to say is like, all right, you said in the education, it's more or less like, it sort of seems like practice where if you have someone that's difficult, it's most likely a professor and some other thing. But in the workforce, it seems to be different. Did you mainly get that from like superiors or from people that you had to work with, like either equal or having to deal with through contracts, like you mentioned earlier? Because I wouldn't put a contractor on the same level as a scientist. Not that they're different jobs or they earn different salaries, but the level of, I guess, emotional maturity that comes with the intellect and self-discipline of having to study for several years on end probably makes you more willing to listen to people and be more patient with people rather than someone that just has like a laborer job, you know?
Oh,
and I wouldn't necessarily put them in the highest esteem in that sense with that, but I also would take it like how you say, you know, treat people differently and try to find out what works with them. Because you're right, sometimes you do have to lower that emotional barrier because some people just aren't open.
The higher the educational level, most of the time, the easier the conversation. Absolutely. It's a lot easier to talk to somebody. I mean, I see it when I moved from engineering, which was like engineers and contracting officers and something like that. It's a lot easier world now that I'm in operations. So yes, the higher education, normally the higher, the easier the conversation becomes.
Okay. And with like you said, you mentioned from moving to engineering just now to operations and controls. Do you think it's not sometimes do you think that it's not so much your gender or your womanhood or your marriage or your kids, and it might just be that people are very selfish and they don't really care about other people, whether they're a man or a woman. And how would you go about dealing with someone that's like that, someone that's apathetic to the human condition, someone that doesn't really care whether or not that they're being reasonable or that they're actually helping, you know? Because a lot of times the bottom line is the dollar for most people.
I mean, human nature is complicated and you cannot reason with everybody. So it depends. If it's a person you can be sincere with and have a conversation with and they might listen and understand, that's fine. Another thing is you can send people to coaching, which I think it's very helpful. And the third one is when everything else fails, I got a very good advice. There was a person that was very, very complicated in all the meetings and really, really irritated me. And I had to deal with that person a few times. So I did go to coaching for 3 months when I became a vice president, because I went from supervising 100 people to supervising 7,000. So I said, they offered me, the company says, would you like a coach? I said, absolutely, yes. And that person, my coach told me, he goes, well, why don't you just elevate yourself and pretend you're on a cloud and you're just a spectator from what's happening below? And it worked. And that person could be as annoying as he could be. And I was just,
But did that give you what you needed? Like, let's say you needed to get a contract or a signature from this person or a yes, and it's just they're constantly being obstinate and there's no really workaround with that. How do you go about that? Especially if you have a superior that's telling you that you need to get it done by a certain deadline.
There's always a way around. I mean, if you have a contract, there's a contract. So if that doesn't work, there has to be a bigger boss or a higher authority that can make things work. So you escalate. If you cannot resolve it at this level, that's why I used to tell my people, if you can't resolve things at your level, I'm here to help you. So you just got to climb up and go to the next level.
No, it's because to a lot of people that is a very scary thing. Escalating the situation past just arbitration sometimes scares people because they feel like they're going to get fired. But thank you for answering my question.
Well, we've had 6 arbitrations with our contractor. Thank God we've won the first 3. We had to escalate it to that far.
Okay, and my friend Mayra Sanchez, I have a question for you. Mayra, you unmute yourself? Mayra? Not June Keller. June is one of advisor for the Houston Community College SHEP members. One person that I really appreciate. She also have a question. June, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much. I really appreciated, I want to make sure to acknowledge the effort that Juan put in to getting such a fabulous speaker today. And we have lots of students from different colleges and universities in the Houston area that are here on this call. And I want to thank you for taking the time to give back to the students. So one thing now in engineering, I'm a little bit your contemporary. One thing now in engineering that engineering students are very concerned with is getting that internship. And so part of getting the internship is not just about the grades that you get in school. So I was wondering if you could talk about what kind of qualities or what kind of advice you could give to the college students that are here on this call, all right, about activities that they could do, whatever, so that they could really position themselves as an intern. And then secondly, just does the Canal Authority hire interns in engineering, and do they have to be Panamanian citizens?
We do hire interns. I don't know. The problem if they're not Panamanians is you have to speak Spanish because the language we work is in Spanish. When we were building the expansion the project, because everything was in English, We actually had a lot of interns from different universities from the States. But right now, it's not very likely because you have to be fluent in Spanish because no more English after the expansion. But I think being a volunteer in different activities helps. I think being part of an NGO or on whatever you want, call it recycling, call it taking care of pets, calling helping in old people's homes, people with handicap. I think being a volunteer in some area, being a mentor, being a teacher for one of the classes that you love, it's always good. Sports are always great to be in a specific sport because in all of the companies you go to, there's always a volunteer chapter that do all kinds of activities. We have about 2,000 volunteers within our workforce, and we help all kinds of things. We also have athletic leagues within the company, and we do competitions, one department against the other. So I think sports and volunteer work is always excellent to be part of, besides grades. But we do look at grades number one when we get interns. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Right, Maida? There you go. How are you?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, I have another question from Wendy Ryder.
Uh-huh.
And she's asking Ilya, if she can go back in time, what advice would she give herself, knowing what she knows now?
That's a tough
so
one.
much, huh? Yeah. So much. Yeah,
no,
I know.
I think I wouldn't change anything actually. Maybe be more patient, and maybe be more outspoken sooner in my life, not later in my life. I think maybe those two. Be more patient and be more outspoken. Because actually I had to have one of my bosses tell me like, hey, Ilya, you need to speak out. If you don't speak out, people won't know what you're thinking. And because he would see in my face, I cannot hide my expressions. So he's like, well, you're thinking something, say it. So maybe be a little bit more outspoken earlier than I was.
All right. Any other question for Ilya? Well, it's been an honor to have you. I think it's been a long meeting, but just looking at the number of attendees and the one that left, I think it's been a great value for all our students and all our members from OLA and all the ERGs at Leidos. We want to thank you very much for your time. And I owe you one. So when I go back to Panama, we'll take you to Latinajas.
Sounds good.
Again,
I'm going to.
No.
Bye, Angel. Great to see you.
Yeah. But again, this is to demonstrate to all, that regardless of your sex or your gender, where you can go, you work hard. And as a Latino, this is part of our resilience and the work, how you can break, even here in the US, how we are breaking barriers. We are now working not just because of our language or our gender or being a minority. We used to just work hard and you will go places.
That's right.
That's the key. Have faith
and ask for help.
Qualification.
Ask for help. Absolutely.
Yep. Because sometimes we think we have to know it all. We need to have all the skills to be able to. I know that was me. And then it clicked, oh no, hold it. I cannot. No one does it like that. There is plenty of resources to get there.
And
That's
like
right.
Ilya say, ask for help is very important for you students to understand, not just now that you're at college, but also when you go and find your first job, find a mentor, because there's plenty of people out there that they're willing to help you. No, if you know how to, but you have to act professional and see and show them that you are interested on what you're doing, and things are gonna work right, okay for you. Again, Ilya, we're going to send you a little cafecito, a little cup that we have an award, and we will send you that back to Panama. Say hi to Kyria for me.
Thank you.
And thanks again for your time, and thanks again for everything that you've done, and congratulations on all your achievements.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a great time. Take care and have a
Super.
great day.
Oh yeah,
Thank
by the way,
you. Love it.
We'll see you in Panama, Angel. Come in Juan. We'll go to Las
Yeah.
Tinajas.
Okay, but
Okay.
hey, by the way, there's a bunch of Aggies around there. What did you guys do with your
Giga.
Gigan? Okay,
Giga.
yeah, let's make him happy.
Howdy, Giga.
She's still loyal to them. She's still very loyal to
Of
them.
course.
They
Very
always loyal.
much. Yep.
All right, thank
Once
you.
an Aggie, always an Aggie. Gig 'em.
Yes.
Thank you again,
Alright.
guys.
Thank
Very
you.
good, June. Good to see your ring. Dayo, also great. Okay, guys, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, June.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.